Hey, what's going on, y'all? Eric Moldra here with Code Red Conversations. Thanks for joining me today. Can y'all see me good with these glasses? Trying to protect my vision in my old age. But on the serious side, what's going on, everyone? I hope everyone's doing good. Let me know if there are any audio issues. It seemed like the mic was kind of low to me today, but let me know if you're hearing me well or not. I'm glad to be with y'all today. I wish it was under, well, I can't say necessarily, I wish it was under better circumstances, but to some degree, that's true. I usually, Code Red Conversation is designed around dealing with heavy issues, serious topics, and this is probably the heaviest I've ever really dealt with. And I've purposely stayed out of the so called limelight or stayed out of the discussion as more information came in as time went on. I didn't want to chime in like everyone does, like most people do. In the social media space, a lot of times we have a tendency to want to be the first one to respond to a story so that we can get the likes and the eyes and we can bring more eyes to our content. And that's understandable. And I do that sometimes. But there are some situations that call for a little more patience, waiting to gather more data. And that's something that I always strive to hold up to is withholding judgment to the best of my ability. I'm not perfect, and waiting for more information to come out. And today, as I mentioned earlier, if you saw the message I left, StreamYard alert, talking about that I was going to be speaking on the Uvalde school shooting. Excuse me. And I'm not saying, and I'll probably say this multiple times throughout my time with you, is that we don't necessarily have all the details. Things can change and probably will. Some of the information that we get probably will change. But at the same time, once again, I mentioned it just a moment ago, but let me know if y'all are hearing me good. Let me know if you're hearing me fine. I hope so. But in regard to the shooting, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of information out there, and some of it has changed over time. But right now we're getting a lot of data. We've got a lot of information, and just over the last few days, despite a lot of back and forth over the weeks and months, or I should say over the weeks, we finally get some information we finally get some more video footage of what actually went down inside of the school. And so just a warning ahead of time, I will be sharing with you some of the video footage of what went down. The whole thing is like maybe an hour and 20 minutes. We're not going to go through. Hey, Maria, good to see you. Thank you for letting me know that everything sounds good. Alejandro, my brother, it's been a while. Good to see you, man. And but we're going to be going over some of the information, some of the video footage, so we can have try to have a meaningful discussion on these issues. And if all goes well, I'll have a guest come on with me. Anyone who's worked with me, especially downtown when I worked on patrol, you might be familiar with my brother who I'll be bringing on. Hopefully he'll come on. I told him he can jump in maybe about 30 minutes into the program and to discuss this shooting and to discuss in general a police officer's response. And if y'all think I'm passionate in the area of training and cops doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that. If you think I'm passionate in the area of training, my boy, man, I hope he can make it. I shot him the message. Let me make sure I sent him the message because you know sometimes you can send out a message and you think you sent the message and you didn't. Okay, I sent it out. So hopefully he'll be tuning in here shortly. But we're going to get into the video footage. And there's some video of what took place prior to the shooter entering the school, him crashing his vehicle, coming in contact with some citizens, and then him entering the school. And I'll move the video forward as time goes on. And I really want to know what y'all think. So feel free to comment and chime in and share your thoughts, share your feelings. Man, I'm gonna tell y'all, when I first saw this video, I cried. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because it just made me think about these young people in this school. Man, I'm an emotional dude. Ain't no shame in my game. I'll be the first to admit it. I cry in front of my family all the time, or when maybe not all the time, but I have no qualms with sharing my emotions. But when I saw this, it broke my heart literally, because I saw these. I thought about these kids who were in the worst moment of their lives and who were desperately in need of these cops to respond. And in my mind, these officers failed them. Now it's time. Now there's some questions I have here and there, but we're going to start the video. We're going to get it up and running, and I'm just going to comment as you go. We're going to get the video fired up and share your thoughts with me as it goes on. Bro, hey Navarro, what's up, man? It's good to hear. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. It's been a definite long time. We definitely need to catch up. We definitely need to catch up. So we're gonna get this video up and running here. Make this good so y'all can see it. I'll progress the video and I'll comment here and there. There's a lot of times where you really can't understand what's being said. So this scene here is when he's initially after he's had the conversation. So the arrow points to what's going on. You see the vehicle crash right there, the red circle. Red circle highlights what went down. So this is after he had already shot his grandma and this clown, this fool. And he crashed his vehicle. So what you're going to see here momentarily is a couple of individuals. I guess they saw what went down and they wanted to render some assistance, render some aid, if I'm not mistaken. You see them walking right there. Yeah, as far as I know, some average everyday citizens just saw a guy crash and they wanted to help out. And as you see how they respond, you'll understand what went down. He gets out of the vehicle. He's got his rifle. And if I'm not mistaken, he starts shooting at them. So that's why they took off. You'll see him exit. You'll see him come out of that pit shortly. And then he'll move down. I'm not sure if my mouse, yeah, you see him right there. Leaving this scene of the accident. And it looks like there's a fence over there. He's going to climb the fence. Throwing his bag and whatever else he had, probably his weapon over. Yeah, he just climbed over. Looks like it. Where he ultimately makes his way towards the school. Crazy, nonchalantly walking like it's no big deal. I just don't understand. I mean, we can go on and on. The world we're living in now, and discuss the whys, why people do some of the things that they do. I think there are a lot of reasons. As a Christian man, I think first and foremost it's the godlessness that has overtaken our culture, the move away from Christ in particular, and the rejection of a creator in general. If you firmly believe that you're just I say this often, but if you firmly believe that you are just a product of time and chance, you are a cosmic accident, your ancestors are fish, your descendants, distant cousins of an African ape, why would there be much hope in general? And why, and if there are no, let me pause this here. Okay. Now this is going to be footage. What's going on inside the school? The audio is not going to be the greatest. I'm assuming that's one of the teachers. So he's in there already shooting. Again, we won't be showing the whole video. We'll be showing a good portion of it, but definitely not the entire video. I want to comment here and there. Him entering the school. Let's back that up, y'all. Look at this. Look at this. Just because you had a bad life, you decide you want to hurt some little kids. Pure evil. Pure evil in my mind. You feel as if you had a bad life. And you want to, some innocent kids that couldn't hurt a fly, basically. Whoops. One of the kids hears what's going on. $11:33. Keep tabs of the time. Real quick. Now, someone was filming him walking into the school, so they had to have known something was going on earlier on. Like at least had a few seconds of a heads up on what was happening. Now, I'm just going to pause right here. Now, we've been having this debate going back and forth about arming the schools, having teachers armed, or some of the other staff armed, or having armed security, having on-duty police officers working these schools. And actually like a combination of all those ideas, to be honest with you. If an officer, if a school teacher is willing to train and qualify, then I don't see any issue necessarily with them being armed. Now, I know there are a lot of other things that go along with it, depending on the school, making sure the individual is trained up, so to speak, and has the right demeanor and everything that goes along with it. We're talking background checks, everything necessary to make sure that you have the right person who is carrying their weapon. But I love the idea, but I prefer the idea of having armed security staff, armed police, well trained. Because here is an example of a just having police there. Y'all know I've been critical of law enforcement. Anyone who's followed me any length of time knows that I keep it real with y'all when it comes to the police. This video included. This video is me giving a critique of law enforcement. Let me give you a for instance, and we'll get back to the video. Back in the day, we did an active shooter test where the department was MACTAC. I think it was multi-agency. I can't even recall what that acronym means, but it was basically the people who were in charge of the active shooter preparation and active shooter testing on our department. And they would go around every quarter or so to every police agency, not police agency, every area command, every police precinct or police station. It try to use a common vernacular so y'all would know what I'm talking about, and evaluate us on our active shooter response. They came to us one year, my squad, and we did terribly, terribly. We didn't know the positions in the active shooter formation or stack as the officers align. We didn't know them like right off, like just off the top of mind. We're fumbling around with positioning, and I was embarrassed personally. And I took it to heart. And I remember going to one of my sergeants, and she commented, she suggested, hey, after briefing, the days where a briefing is short, let's take a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes before we hit the streets, and let's practice our tactics. Let's practice our active shooter tactics. So I went to, they ended up creating a course, active shooter officer as far as trainer. So I went to, it was a multi-day course. I went through that course, and we made it a point multiple times a week to prepare and train and record our efforts, our progress, and discuss our mistakes and what we thought we did well and what we thought we didn't do well, and critique each other to the point that the next time they showed up, the next time they came around, we killed it, confident. And this was the time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was testing for the SWAT team. I'm not SWAT, or I wasn't SWAT, but I was testing for the SWAT team. And I was going out there as a role player with the SWAT team, training with the SWAT team. And those guys really got my response up to snuff. I mean, they had me on a level that I was unaccustomed to being on, pushing me, pushing my speed, pushing my decision making. And I was able to take that knowledge that I gained from those guys and bring it back to my squad. And we got really good. I say all that to say is when it comes to a situation like an active shooter event, I do not want to minimize the threat, the danger, the fear that can impact an officer in those situations. But at the same time, you went into this career field knowing the risks. You step into law enforcement knowing that it has inherent risks. Let me switch this up real quick. You step into law enforcement knowing that it has inherent risks. And those risks may involve you being shot. Those risks may involve you being hurt, injured. But it comes with the job, y'all. It comes with the job. Thanks, Joanne. Multi-assault counterterrorism action capability. That's what the MACTAC acronym stands for. Multi-assault counter terrorism action capabilities. Fancy name for active shooter response. I don't even know why they came up with all that, but I think it has to do with other agencies, us correlating with maybe local police agencies like Henderson Police, fire, the local FD, various other agencies. But let me post this comment here real quick. My man, what up, brother? All I saw was, hey, man, Big Mac, if you want to jump in and chime in during this, bro, I don't know if you want to, but I'm just letting you know. If you want to, I can shoot you a link, and you can jump on board. I'm just putting it out there. If you want to, hit me up, let me know. But he said all I saw was fear. That's exact. I remember, hey, Mac, I remember the time I had y'all come down, your group of guys, come down and train my squad in active shooter because I wanted us to get better. I wanted us to improve. That's the mindset an officer should have. While you're out there, I'm telling y'all, as an officer, I get so frustrated when it comes down to the area of officer training because this is the kind of crap this is why I'm so passionate about it. Because one day you may have to face this. You may have to, this is the worst call anyone could be on. I don't think there's anyone who relishes the idea of going into a school with a murderous suspect running and gunning and shooting little kids, because you have to worry about backdrop and making sure, and the stress, seeing bodies that are injured and stepping over them. This is what you're supposed to do, stepping over them and moving towards the threat so that you can eliminate him. You can eliminate the threat. And then you can attend to these kids. Then you can attend to these teachers. That's what you do. And you train, you put yourself in uncomfortable positions so that you are prepared for moments like this. You put yourself in uncomfortable positions in your training so that when this moment hits, when this moment comes, because I think no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. It's going to, oh, that'll happen somewhere else. Or that'll happen in New York, or that'll happen in Chicago or LA. This was freaking Uvalde, Texas. I never even heard of it. I lived in Texas for some years. I ain't never even heard of Uvalde, Texas. But that's where it went down. In a place with 6 officers in the school district police. 6 officers. That's where this went down. All I'm saying is, it's the old adage of like carrying a gun. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So when it comes to your tactics and your skills, if there's anyone out there, and I say this to civilians alike, but in particularly, especially for officers, man, if some of y'all out there who are hearing this video, watching this video right now, are playing, you've been playing and skating your whole career, barely giving any effort, you ain't worked out since the academy, which was 10 years ago. You go and qualify and do the bare minimum to get by. And shame on you if that's you. You ought to be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. But at the same time, get with it. You're here now. If you're watching this, and if I'm not talking about you, don't worry about it. But just let it roll off your back. But if I am talking about you, you need to wake up and get with it. That's just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. Real quick. Oh, I got my boy's coming in just a moment. Like you said, he said, it's what we signed up for. Those babies deserve better. Forgive me, y'all. This gets me emotional, seriously. Because those kids at that moment, they needed those officers to step up and handle their business, and they didn't. They didn't. And it breaks my heart, and it pisses me off at the same time. I'm going to have my boys step in real quick, and we're going to finish. We're going to move on to with the stream. If any of y'all know my brother right here, Big John Kuzmak. How you doing, brother? Can you hear me?
I can hear Eric. How are you? Good to see you again.
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, man, I've been running my mouth pretty much not the whole time, but a good portion of it, man. Just sharing my thoughts. We showed I showed a portion of the video where the guy crashes the vehicle. He starts shooting at the people that walk up to him, and then he makes entry into the school, and you can just hear gunfire going off. Man, I just got emotional over here watching it because I couldn't help but think about how those kids were in such need. They were at their moment of need, probably the the uh, the worst moment of their lives, and those officers failed them. But before we get in there, before I let you chime in, do me a favor, man. I know you're a humble man and you don't like to talk about yourself, and that's one of the reasons why I love you, man. Share with my audience a little bit about you, just a little bit of your background, man, and then you can comment wherever you feel you want to. Are you there, bro? Can you hear me?
Okay. Hey, well, thanks for having me on, man. I'll just break it down. I'll keep it real simple.
Losing my man over here. My man, hey, just a little FYI, Big John, that's my dog and all that, but my man had a flip phone for you. I think he just recently got a smartphone. Hopefully down the road, we're going to keep trying to work this right here and get him in there. Um, but yeah, this whole situation it's just heartbreaking, y'all. It's just heartbreaking. And let me get a couple of comments right here, and we're gonna get back to the video. Forgive me for stopping the video, y'all. I mean, it's probably only so much I can stomach too as I go on. Roy, my man, we were in the academy together, and it's good to see you, man. He says I train every day. I remember you telling me at the academy, get out of your head, man. I'm telling you because the when it comes down to training and tactics and preparation, sometimes you can be your biggest enemy. You could be your worst enemy. Making entry into a room where you know that there's someone in there who has a mindset of he's shooting people, and then you have to make entry into that room. It's crazy. It's wild. It's crazy. You have to make entry in there. I I've been in a situation where there was a guy shooting before, and we had to make entry, and by the grace of God, he had to threw the gun on the ground. Or we were told that there was a shooter. We made entry, and there was no shooter in there. There was no gun. So I know how to. I've been in that situation. But you have to do what you have to do as a cop. It's that simple. Big John, you're back. Hopefully your audio is working and we got a better connection. Can you hear me?
I can hear it, man.
Okay, let's try that again, man. If you were giving your bio, we didn't get any of it. So if you could start with that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, if you're getting it, we got some bad weather out here. It's interfering with our call. But 21 years in the military, over 2 decades with same agency that you were with, and there you go. And I guess got to put it out to anybody who's listening, maybe for the first time or if they've been around for a while. Eric does what he says. He walks his talk. So the stuff that he's putting out is serious, and he lives it. So if there's anybody out there who's wandering out in the wings, wondering, is this legit? Is this what he's saying true? That's what the man's all about. What you see is what you get.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. So we're gonna get back to the video here shortly, but did you get a chance to watch the video at all today?
I did.
Okay, just give me what were your thoughts, man?
I don't know that I can put them into words. I really don't.
And be real, man. We keep it real. You know, we've always kept it real, brother. And I keep it real with my audience here. Just be honest. Just tell me what went through your head.
Grave disappointment, profound anger, and
right.
Eric and I have talked about this before. This is the job you signed up for. This is it, whether you like it or not. And the time to decide that is not when it's happening. You got to step up and you got to move, because you're doing what other people cannot do. And if you can't do that, then you should have left well before. I'll be curious to find out how this shakes out in the long run. I really will, to see what happens down there. I can't imagine any reason. I can't imagine any legitimate reason for the lack of action on the part of folks that were there. I can't wrap my head around it. Don't understand it.
I'm with you, man. Like I said a moment ago, man, I got emotional rewatching this video, just seeing how these officers respond. Now there are questions that'll pop up, and there are questions that I have, because you see time and time again. I'll you know what? I'm gonna let the video play, if you don't mind, man. I'm gonna let the video play, and if there's any point where you want me to pause and you want to comment, just chime in, raise your hand, give me a wave, just tell me, hey, can you pause it real quick, and I'm gonna let you just say what you have to say. And once again, man, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you offering your perspective. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and let the video fly. Now he's already been in the school a few minutes, so he's already been listen to that. Just listen to that, man. I gotta just say this, and I was talking about this a moment ago. I don't know where you stand, John. We haven't discussed this, and this is another thing that I like, is that we bounce ideas off each other, and we disagree, but it doesn't affect we don't always agree. We agree on most things, but we don't always agree. But to me, this is a solid argument as far as having armed security at the schools actively, because in a couple of minutes, Lord knows how much death he dealt, just in a handful of minutes. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Okay, real quick, a couple things. One is, if you look at the beginning, there's a young man, a student apparently, who goes to go around the corner, hears the shots, and runs.
Right.
It's almost as if, when you watch later, that's almost the actions of several of the officers. You should be using that noise as your indicator. You're moving toward that noise now. You're not wasting time, because each second, each of those shots is a life that's lost or potentially lost. That's number one. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So your timing, your intelligent trained aggressiveness. Oh, I know what I want to cover was, for anybody that thinks that this is new, and this is another point of frustration, I would just put this out. The first mass school killing that I can find was not Columbine. For whatever reason, people love to show that as some kind of a thing that went on as a milestone. It's not. The first one I can find is back in the 1930s in a place called Bath, Michigan, B-A-T-H, Michigan. I'll leave that up to your audience to go and do their own research on, but you'll be able to find that it's not difficult.
Okay.
So school hardening should have started about 80 years ago. Okay, it's not a new concept. It's not something that should be causing people's jaws to drop. But you'll find it if you do the research on it. It's equally tragic, but it's not a new concept. We just refuse to listen to it. Another one is, from those of you who might remember, back in the 80s, there was the Beslan school massacre in Russia.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember that.
It was a school that was taken over intentionally by separatist terrorists. And folks that have been in the know have been warning. They said it's only a matter of time. It's coming here. Whether it's politically driven, whether it's anger driven, mental health driven, whatever it is, it's on the way. You got to get ready. And nobody, or very comparatively few people, have done anything about it.
Man, and unfortunately, the
Although
politics
I do have to
primarily get in the way.
This that here
Got a little delay there. Can you hear me now?
I missed that. I lost you on there, man. Sorry.
Yeah, because what I said, I said ultimately, unfortunately,
Okay.
politics. I said politics are getting in the way from us doing the right thing to protect these kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and let the video flow again. Get the video up and running again. Whoops. And arrived on the scene 11:36. Was that 7 officers? Any comments right there, man?
I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to echo what you said earlier, that neither of us are afraid to call out things when we saw them. When we were working together, we had our conferences about things that we saw or actions that we didn't approve of, and
Right.
neither of us were afraid to take criticism for things that we did either. I cannot understand for the life of me what these folks were doing. There's no coordination to be made. There's a point
Zero.
at which there's a small point at which there's a thing called hey diddle diddle straight up the middle. You just go now. You cannot wait. There's no more intelligence to be gathered. There's no more of this. There's no more verifying that we're not establishing a crossfire. You've got to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's the part. The thing that gets me is, from what I heard. Now, again, this is just some of the information that's out there. Was they had just recently gone through active shooter training. Is that what you heard? I'm not sure if you heard that as well. But they had just recently gone through active shooter training, maybe a month prior. But there was no. They were totally confused as to what to do because it wasn't ingrained. It wasn't that rote memory based on practice, based on repetition. They were all over the hallway looking around instead of, like you said, moving, listening, searching, hunting down this guy so you can eliminate him.
No, you just said it right there. It's hunting down.
Absolutely. And they failed to do that. You got to look for this guy.
You're hunting him.
You had three guys down the hall, 4 holding back, looking around, one dude checking his phone. Like, what is that? Like, what is that? I mean, seriously. What is going on in your phone that's that important that you have to stop when you're in the middle of a guy gunning down a school?
The only thing
ahead.
there's a couple of points. One is, yes, I agree. But the only thing you should be doing with your hands is manipulating your weapon. That's it. There's not even time for updates on the radio. It's time to go. Find this person and stop this right now. However, let me just put this out. I just happened to see that allegedly, I guess that one officer, it was one of his wife was one of the people killed there. He was trying to contact her. I'm guessing maybe in his mind for an update. Now, we've also both worked around people who owned the radio channel. They acted, there may be, let's just say notionally 15 officers working somewhere, and there's that one guy or gal that gets on the radio and monopolizes it, and they never get put in check and trained by their supervisor. So is it possible that maybe he was looking for an update? Like, I wouldn't hesitate to text you if I was on one side of the building to say, hey, brother, I'm on this side, make an entry, so but between looking over front sight blades and looking at a text screen, there's no question what needs to be happening. Period.
Yeah, the top priority needs to be you deal with that guy, because this is the part. I hear what you're saying about shooting the text, but my mindset is this: when you go into, if you have no idea where that threat is, that dude could have came out in one of the doors behind them, or he could have came out that hallway, and you're in, like you said, you're in the middle of, you got your phone in one hand and your rifle in the other hand. Unless you practice, and even then, if they get the drop on you, even those guys, even the most highly trained guy, you still have that lag where you have to respond to the threat, that your brain sees it, and then your muscles have to respond. Your nervous system has to send a signal to your hands to raise the weapon. I just don't see. Sure. I just don't understand why he would even consider that being the proper time to look on his phone. Man, you're in the thick of it. You are in the thick of it. That ain't the time right there, man. Take that threat out.
I'm also curious. I want to see what they've got for what training they did. There's the 80s thing of garbage in, garbage out. If it was some thing that was not really seriously looked at, and you and I both know that police chiefs and sheriffs sometimes have a way of, well, let me buy this product, and they don't validate it themselves. They don't come out and look at it and say, okay, does this really make sense? Or ask their officers later, can you do what you were just trained in? Yes or no? And if not, do we need to practice it more? Does did I make a mistake? Which, how often that's going to get asked. Did I make a mistake paying for this training for our agency?
Yeah. I think you might have hit it, man. Hold on a second. I'm gonna bring one more brother in real quick. Hey, Sean, I'm gonna send it to you on real quick. I'm gonna text it to you, okay? So just a heads up. I'm sending it to you via text. You can email it to yourself or whatever. You know what? I'm just gonna put it in the comments right here. It's gonna be in the comments below, bro. So Sean, if you want to jump in, just click on that or cut and paste it. All right. But I'm gonna go ahead and let this video fly here, and we're gonna continue on with this. I appreciate you jumping in, man. I'm not gonna hold you up.
It doesn't get any better.
What's that?
It doesn't get any better.
See, this is the part that gets me, man. They're there. They make contact with him. You have 6, 7 officers. Gunfire is still going off. They needed to move. What do they call it? Exigent circumstances. You need to react You need to react now. And this is a clear, it's fear, no doubt, but fear is typically associated with a lack of skill, a lack of training. And that's what we're getting right now. Listen to this, man. Confusion. Like no clue what to do. Well, they've been in the school already. I don't know how many minutes. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Just something that these guys have been down the same section of hall back where it appears to me where this event is taking place.
Yeah.
And they backed out of it twice already. So you're now setting yourself up in the unique situation of having to take the same area back that you've already taken previously. That's one. Two.
Good point. Good point.
Two, I was an emergency medical technician with the county out there the entire time I was a police officer. So I actually worked for the fire department for my last few years as a volunteer. And it's a real simple concept. Every second you're waiting, it's more blood loss. It's less oxygen getting to the brain and circulating tissues of someone who's injured. It's pushing them deeper into profound shock and much more difficult to get them out. And you're a former military medic, as am I also.
Yes, sir.
The amount of time and imagine, I would say, just sit there and try to hold your breath for the amount of time that it's taken these folks to try to do something that's worth note. And imagine spending your last moments on Earth sitting in a classroom when your biggest thing was wondering whether or not I could trade my friend Eric for my peanut butter and jelly sandwich for what he had at lunchtime, and that's it. And now you're sitting there bleeding, and we've got people who I can't find anything in there so far, and I'd love to be surprised. I'm hoping desperately that there's something that we're not seeing that indicates some level of competence in these folks.
Now,
I don't
John,
see it anywhere, not even on the individual basis.
Yeah, real quick, man. Let me ask you this. Now, I've had people, like I told you, we were talking on the phone earlier today, and I've had people tell me, "Now, Eric, you weren't there. Like because I shared the video on Facebook and Instagram a couple of days ago, and their response was, "You weren't there, man. You don't know what happened. You don't know why those officers did what they did." How would you respond to that, man?
It's easy for me because first off, when you say the magic words Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, that tells me something about those people that are using it or overusing it.
Hey, I'm on there, man. Be easy.
Number two, any effective organization anywhere that you can think of, hey, look, tell me that the women's the women's NBA teams don't have an after action where they get together and they're just real honest with each other about how well or how poorly they each individually did or their teammates did. Anybody who's successful does that. I can tell you, except for one group, and you know the group I'm about to say, because now they can come after me too. It's cops. They love to hide behind you weren't there. They love to hide behind you don't know what went into that decision making. The problem is it never lets you get any better. It never forces you to think past what you were doing in the moment. Okay. You tell me, and you and I have done that previously. You pull me aside and say, hey man, I don't know what you were thinking, or did you notice this? Or I was thinking this, but it looked like you were thinking something different. All these folks that want to hide from reality. I did this, but I don't want anybody to acknowledge it, and I'm going to ignore it. No, that's not going to work. You know, that's fine when you wet the bed when you were like 3. That's okay. But when you're a grown adult and you're in a professional capacity and you're doing things and you're trying to get better, there's no room for that. There's no room for that. We can't talk about it. There's no room for, you know, you can the best quote that I've seen recently is that you can rate Uber drivers. Do we get to rate police officers?
Yeah, that's good, man. And the average citizen should.
You can go to the postal. You can go. Yes, absolutely.
You know, this is what I think, man. I think that there's something to be said about in some situations of not. I've said that before. I've said that to people before. Now it's hard to be ultra critical when you have zero training, zero knowledge, but there's been a lot of talk about this situation. I've even heard reports now, because as the video progresses, we're going to see that there's going to be some more gunfire that goes off in maybe another 30 minutes. There's going to be more 30, 40 minutes. There's going to be some more gunfire, which motivates these guys to move down the hallway and then set up shop again further down the hall. And initially we heard that they were struggling to find a key, but there's been some initial talk that said that actually wasn't the case. I don't know what you heard about that. Did you hear anything about that at all? That a key, like a missing key wasn't an issue?
I didn't, and I'm not looking to care about it. There, with what was going on, or what may have been contemplated to go on, there are any number of things that you could have done, and in my mind, you would not have been wrong. If you simply ran up to that door and started unloading on the lock and tried to rip that door off its hinges, that would have been fine. If you drove your car backwards through the outer wall, the outer windows of that classroom to gain access, that would have been fine. How are you going to hold up? Okay, let me get this right. So for a key that you would duplicate for 97 cents at a hardware store, that's what stopped them. That's it. The bad guy didn't need a rifle or ammunition. He just needed something this big for 97 cents. That's it. That's your excuse. That's why they're stacking bodies in the cemetery down in Uvalde, because you didn't have a key.
Okay, let me play devil's
I feel
advocate.
comfortable saying.
Yeah, let me push back a little bit with something you said. Now, I agree as far as your top priority, your primary focus needs to be get in there as ASAP. But what about the potential risk of shooting the doorway and a kid could be lying on the other side of the door? What about the potential risk of you taking your vehicle, running through the wall, and there's an injured kid over there? How would you respond to that? Because I would have a little issue with some of those tactics personally.
I got you. There's a couple things. One is you're saying potential risk versus actual risk. We know this guy's killing people in there.
Right.
I might hurt somebody, but I might not. It's pretty clear to me what my choice is. That's number one. Number two, I got on my own, and you know some of my history. I went and did some training on my own, and there are ways that you can orient your weapon into the door jamb to minimize the chance of that happening. Okay. Number three, and most people are going to go, let me check this out. If you remember a few years ago, just recently, last 5 years or so, there was an aircraft crash at San Francisco International Airport. And there was someone who had gotten off the aircraft and was apparently laying on the ground injured. Don't know. She was run over by a fire truck. Apparently she lived through the crash, but was killed by the fire truck. I'm not going to say anything in terms of if you're going to make an omelet, you got to break eggs. That's nonsense. That's inappropriate.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're trying to do what you clearly need to do, you know, I'll err on the side of taking the risk versus of maybe hurting somebody versus abjectly permitting someone to continue a massacre unabated. And I don't see that on the scale. I don't see that evening out. I'm sorry.
No, excellent point. I like Matt. Great pushback, because when you said potential versus actual risk, the actual risk is this clown shooting up those kids, and that should trump the potential risk. That was well said, man. That was well said, because that would have been my initial apprehension behind that. But once you kind of pan that out, it makes all the sense in the world. All right, let's continue on with this video once again. Great points, man. See, this is, and you thought you wouldn't have anything to contribute.
Hey, let me throw one more.
Go ahead.
let me throw one more in there. The police should never be, as a professional, you should never be so wrapped up in yourself that you're concerned about someone looking a second time at your actions. That whole concept for me is ridiculous. And I'm talking to somebody, and a couple people who knew me knew that I was wearing a body-worn camera at work before they were issued. I bought my own.
I remember.
If you're in the right and you're doing things that make sense for the right reasons, you're going to be okay. If you're not in the right, or you don't know what you're doing because what you do has never been important to you, that's on you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue on with that, man, because you opened up the avenue for another excellent point. And Sean, feel free to jump in, bro, whenever you want to, man. Click on that link and just come on in. Preferably, if you have a laptop, that would be even better. But I know you all Mr. High Tech. You always have been. So whatever phone you guys, probably the best one out there. But real quick, John, we in our current culture right now, there's a lot of criticism in law enforcement. Everything a cop does, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, as a cop. What do you say to those guys? Because there've been a lot of people who are like, man, what we're seeing is a result of the high nitpicky scrutiny that cops are getting, the hate towards cops, which are causing police officers to second guess their actions. What do you say to that?
All I can tell you is this, is if you really know what you're doing and you're really about your profession, it's an annoyance, but it shouldn't stop you from doing what you're doing. I firmly believe that in too many cases, it's a person that's a fence sitter. They really don't, they like the police paycheck. I just said that. They like the police benefits. I just said that. They like the stability of the job. I just said that. They like the prestige of the job, but they won't step up and they won't make themselves any better. Now, when someone is doing, for example, when someone does one of those First Amendment audits, they want to walk up and they want to film a police officer, then the guy gets all bent out of shape. Now, recently, Arizona addressed that in state law, or they're going to. But do whatever. Say what you got to say. I'm fine. I never had any issue going to internal affairs. Let's go now. I'll explain exactly what it is that I did, why I did it, why policy and law let me do it, and there you go. And part of being a police officer, if you want to see smiles all the time, go drive an ice cream truck, because you'll get plenty of smiles then. You know from our job, and you work in corrections. One of the more difficult jobs in law enforcement. That you're not Mr. Sun. You're not Mr. Sun. That's not the way that works. If you're not prepared for that emotionally and spiritually and mentally, then I used to say it when I trained. We had a dairy in town. Go work at the dairy. It's okay. You'll make good money. It's okay. It's a respectable job. People need milk and dairy products. So
I'm with you. What up, Mac?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much, brother.
How are you?
Hey, hey, Sean. I don't know if you know
Yes, sir.
John Coos. I don't know if you know
I
Coos.
do. I remember
Okay.
Coos. Yeah.
I
How's it
remember.
going?
How are
Hey,
you? Good to see you, man.
hey,
I'm
hey,
good,
Mac.
brother.
Do,
Hanging
hey,
in there.
hey, Mac. I appreciate you jumping in, man. Do me a favor, man. Give a little breakdown of your background, real quick. I just want everybody to know. We got that. Let everyone know we got some wisdom up here talking, and
Okay.
just share your. And, give. Take a couple of seconds, and then just tell me what are your thoughts on this whole thing, man.
Okay. Okay. First of all, 23 years with the department. 7 of those years were as CEO, and then I went to the streets in 2005. And I loved every minute of it, man. You know what I've done, man. Backgrounds, robbery, but my real passion was a saturation team for 8 years with TJ, because we did a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
training with you guys. A lot of homeland training. You know, I mean, just a lot of knowledge as far as active shooter and things of that nature. Absolutely,
Right.
yeah.
So, what did you see this full video I showed? Have you seen the whole hour and something, or a good portion of it? I'll at least say, have you seen a good bit of it?
I saw it the other day, Eric, and I got emotional, man, like you did. I'm emotional right now, so I'm gonna take my time because I talk fast. So you know, everyone out there, you may have to speed up your hearing because I talk fast, but
Or slow
so
down the recording.
I'll try to slow it down, man.
Hey, do your thing, bro. Do your thing,
But
man.
listen, to me, protecting those who can't protect themselves,
Mm.
is why I signed up. There's no greater honor for me. I'm getting emotional now. There's no greater honor. Actually helping people. And it's sad the way society looks at us now.
Yeah.
All the scrutiny. And I think I sent you the video. You saw the video of the little kid hitting the cop, and
Yeah, man.
that's the thanks we get. Like I tell people, I said, even though you get that disrespect and you treat it, the way that these people want to treat cops, but when you need help and you call 911, I'm still gonna show up.
No doubt.
I'll still be there to help you. And people, they don't understand that whole concept. So as far as that situation there, Eric, I would have gladly laid my life down for those babies. That it makes me sick to sit and watch that video. To watch, and you said keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. And these are my thoughts. The cowards, they were cowards. You knew what you signed up for the day you signed on the dotted line. The first day of the academy, you knew exactly what you signed up for. And we were trained, and and TJ was a hell of a teacher, man. Let me tell you, man, we trained and trained and trained. And the biggest thing I took away from that in the situation, like John eloquently put it, man. I mean, you just go. Sometimes you just stack. If you only have 3, you stack and you go. You go where the gunfire is. It's the sound of the gunfire is, and you take care of business. Period. End of discussion.
Right.
I have zero respect for any of them in that hallway. None. I can't say it any other way. I have zero respect. That's just like on October 1, man, here in town.
Yeah.
I was at home and I saw the news. All I wanted to do was gear up and go, man. Let's go.
Bro,
Let's go.
I've been retired.
Stop that threat.
I've been retired since 2014, and every time there's been a situation in Vegas that was a hot call, I wish I could have been there, man. I wish I'm for real, man. And a lot of people don't understand that mindset, man. Man, if they needed me, if there was a situation went down today and I was needed, boy, I'd throw on my heavy ass body armor. I'd grab my AR and I'd be out the door and I would be trying to handle my business to the best of my ability. I'm a bit rusty, but I guarantee you my fitness ain't gonna let me down compared to a lot of these cops out there.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you right now, even my shooting is probably gonna be right up there, if not better than a lot of these cats out there. A lot of guys that are currently working, and I'm not saying that to put anybody down. But man, I'm telling you, man, when I saw when October 1 hit, I wish I was still on the department. I would have
Man,
been up them stairs. I would have been
yes.
moving up them stairs, man. You
Let's
know what
go.
I'm saying?
Let's go. Stack and
So
let's
I'm
go.
with you.
You
I'm
know,
with you on that, man.
I had a conversation with my girlfriend. We were down in New Orleans back here a little while ago, and we were walking down one of the main streets, and officers in New Orleans had some guy pulled over, right? He was by himself, so I stopped. So my girlfriend, she was like, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm gonna make sure he's code 4." She said, "Well, you don't." And I didn't have my
Good to
weapon.
go for the civilians out there.
Right.
Good to
Listen,
go. Code 4. Good to go.
She said, "Yeah." So she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I have to make sure that he's okay. He's by himself." And the guy that he had in front of his car, he was being a total jerk. So I said, "I'm gonna stand by." She said, "You would get involved?" I said, "Listen." I said, "It's not in me. I'm not made that way. I'm built different." I said, if that man needs help, you can count me in. I'm not gonna sit and watch him get mollywopped by some thug. It's not gonna happen. Not on my watch.
Right.
I can't do it, man. It's just. She said, "You don't worry about getting sued or being held accountable if something goes wrong." I said, "Look, I'll worry about that later. I'll cross that bridge." As my mother always told me, "You cross that bridge when you come to it." But until then, if he needs my help, I'm gonna help. It's just that simple.
And I'm not trying to speak for you, Sean, but I know, like, just for clarification, when you say you're built different, ain't none of us up here thinking we're better than anybody.
Right, exactly.
We just have as we grew and we dealt with this life, and we had all different, and we got all kinds of different experiences up here. We all done had some deep conversations over the years. Me with the two of y'all. And we've had different experiences. We've had some very similar experiences, but the life we went through molded us, put us in a position where when we stepped into law enforcement, when we walked in there, it wasn't simply just for a paycheck.
No,
it wasn't about that. And we ain't trying to criticize or put anybody down who decides to go into a different field, but it ain't for everybody. That's just the reality of it. And some of us really loved and got great joy by when you catch the bad guy, the dude who ain't out there doing, he's up to no good. He ain't doing nobody a lick of good. And when you catch that dude and you take him off the streets and stop him from terrorizing folks, that feels good, man. There's very few rewards in life like that. So when I talk about, I just said that, man, just when you said built different, I don't want anybody getting the wrong impression that we're over here trying to beat our chest and trying to act like we all that. No, there's some people are willing to jump into the fire and some people run from it. That's just how it is. And the people that run from it, ain't nothing wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong. You're not a bad person. But there's some folks out there who are like, when there's a hot call, a serious call, get me there as soon as possible. There's some of us that are just designed like that. By the grace of God, we're made for that purpose. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish, man. I keep cutting you off. Forgive me.
Okay. I mean, no. It was a great point, man. And it's just in us. It's just in us to help and to truly help. I remember a time on the SAT team. We were over in Northeast somewhere, Frank 2 or 3 or whatever. Anyway, we were sent over to clean it up. So 2 weeks in, listen, you can find anyone walking on the streets, right? You know, that certain element, right? So we were out, and a lady, she had to be, I don't know, maybe 75 or 80, right? She flags the car down. So I get out and I go to her. I'm just like, "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" And she looked short little lady, right? So she kind of motioned like this. So I leaned down and she patted my face, right? And she said, I just want to thank you. She said, "I haven't been able to walk my dog in months because of the activity that's going on in this neighborhood." And that right there, I knew I was in the right profession and I was doing what God intended for me to do. And that was to help these people who couldn't help themselves. And that's why I can't understand these guys not going in there and saving those babies. That's all I can think about is saving. If it happened here, man, I've heard it on the radio, the news, I probably would have ran to the school, armed myself and went to the school. If you're scared to go in, I'll go in. I don't care, man. Listen, I'm 56 years old. I've lived my life, man. These 8, 9, and 10-year-old children, man. Come on. I don't understand it, man. I don't think I ever will. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, John, like you said, man, it's I don't think I even have the words to explain, how I feel or the disappointment I have in these guys and just the lack of respect. Just you should turn in your badge and go work at Starbucks, man. Go make lattes, buddy, because you're not built for this.
No doubt.
You're not built for this, man. Go be a mall security.
Don't even do that. If you ask me,
yeah.
Don't even do that.
Don't even do that up. You might screw that up.
Man, let me tell you real quick. When I went through the academy, there were a handful of guys who, I'm talking about the CO and Patrol Academy, Corrections Officer and Patrol Academy, that the minute one of the tax staff got in their face or they went through a couple of scenarios, they were like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I had conversations with one of them, good friend of mine, still a good friend to this day. Had a conversation with him. I tried to convince him to stay, but then I thought about it. I was just like, if something like that rattles him, and like I said, this ain't putting anybody down. If something like that rattles him, when you're really in the fire, like you really deep in it, what are you going to do? When you think about the special operations, special forces, the Army, the various branches, when they put people through the grit, they put you through the worst. They create the worst situations that they can legally create to see what you're made of. Especially the special operations guys, because the odds of you actually being involved in war is greater. So they want to know that if you're going to quit out here when we can't legally kill you, we can hurt you a little bit, but we really can't. You don't have to really worry about your life being on the line as far as somebody gunning you down, and you can't hang with that. What are you going to do in the harsh reality? So, just like we're saying right here, there are people out there who can cut it, and there's some people who just can't. And unfortunately, I think that there are a lot more people who are working in law enforcement to this very day who really don't have the heart for situations like that.
Absolutely. You talk about training. I got a funny story, man. I always tell people when I went to the academy in 2005, and Kevin McMahill was the sergeant. Andy Walsh was one of the tax staff. And I don't know if you know this about Kevin McMahill, man, but that dude can run. Well, at least back then, he could run. I don't think I've ever seen anybody that can run like him and Andy, But I remember the very first run that we had. It was only like a mile and a half, and I had been running, not like I was supposed to. I'll admit that. But it was a mile and a half, so we ran down Hualapai, and we were coming back, and I got sick. I stopped at the side of the road. I threw up. I fell out of the run. But I caught the tail end of it, and and I finished the run. I don't know if it's breakfast or my nerves or whatever. It was like the first week or whatever. Anyway, so of course, they got in my face about it. So old McMahill was in my face, right? So he's anxious for my face, and he kept telling me I need to quit. He said, "You need to quit, man. You're not cut for this." He said, "I'm going to make you quit." And I told him, I said, this, and I got pissed though. And I said, there's nobody in this academy man enough to make me quit, man. Nobody. I told him, listen, I'm looking him dead in his face because he's this close to me. I said, there's nobody here man enough to make me quit, sir. So I'm going to make you quit because you haven't been training, and I hadn't. And not like I was supposed to. I thought,
right.
They only did like 2 or 3 miles. I had no idea him and Andy were marathon runners. Anyway, so in order to keep up, I had to run on the weekends, just in order to be able to keep up, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Right.
I didn't, and I was pissed at him, man. I was, man. I really didn't like Kevin at the time, man. During the academy, but I came to respect him, man, because what he did was he brought out the best in me. He challenged me. You know what I mean? He told me, he said, "I'm going to make you quit." I said, "Sir, no, sir." So And now we're good friends now, man. So I'm glad he'd be sheriff. I don't know how everybody else feels out there, man, but that and I work for him on the SAT team, man, and he's a hell of a guy. He's a cop's cop, man, and I have a lot of respect for that man. And I'm not just saying it because we're on, we're on live. I'm just telling you, the truth. So he brought out the best in me, man. And he made me better. You know what I mean? He challenged me, and I think. And that carried over, man. Even when I was on patrol and everything I did, when I was in backgrounds, everything. That moment, man. You know what I mean? Him pushing me like that. Him being professional like that. Him instilling that in me. You know what I mean? Because it starts at that first day. Like you said, that guy there, when he got yelled at, no, you're not cut out for this, buddy. You're not made from you're not made from this cloth. So those of us who pushed through and we made it through, man, and we went on and had great careers and did some great things, man. It was all a testament to that, man, having that fortitude. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that drive.
Hey, John, I'm gonna let you chime in, man, because me and Sean, we can go on.
Yeah, we'll talk. Listen, I'll talk to you guys. Yeah, I talk your ear off. So.
No, I just want to say, Sean was making the point, about Kevin or Andy bringing out the best in him. I respectfully, I think that they just created the situation. He brought out the best in himself, which says something about him and says something about how you carry yourself for the rest of your career and how you live your life. And you and I spoke earlier about maybe something that we say might affect a newer officer or maybe somebody who needs to reevaluate themselves and where they are in their skills and so forth. So there it is. Whether you're in a place in Texas that you never heard of before, or you're in New York City, you need to look at yourself and bring out the best in yourself if you're in this position. So again, people are going to scrutinize and criticize us, but make certain that you got your act together enough to where maybe other people start saying, hey, you know what? He's back. So bring out the best. Take the opportunity to bring out the best in yourself. Push yourself. Look at this if you're an officer, and if you're saying to yourself, "What would I do?" You need to start answering that question now, and maybe even going so far as to ask yourself if you need to stay an officer.
Right. And see, that's the difficult part right there. A lot of people. Now, real quick, how long was it that it took those officers to finally make entry? Wasn't it? How many minutes was that?
It was the rest of a bunch of kids' lives. That's what it was. Precisely.
Say that again, bro.
Wow.
It was the rest of a bunch of kids' lives.
Wow.
Man. Right.
Yeah. That's how you measure that. You don't need to measure it. You don't need to get out a Swiss watch and measure it down and look at who was where at what time. In my mind, respectfully, that's irrelevant. It took the rest of those kids' lives. So whether it took them 2 minutes or it took them an hour and a half, it took the rest of those kids' lives.
And that's the hardest part for me. That's the hardest part for me was just knowing that it takes 5 minutes for an adult with serious, to potentially bleed out, depending on the injury, obviously. You're talking about a little kid who's shot up. And they knew where they were. They knew they were in the school. And it's just like, man, do whatever it takes. 6 of those officers, you're probably going to get shot going through that doorway. Somebody's going to get shot, but somebody else is going to take out that guy. He's going to get stopped. And it could have changed the whole dynamic. We could be sitting over here having a whole different conversation about that event if those officers had just taken those necessary steps. Go ahead, guys.
Every single day when I was going to work, I expected to get shot. Every single day when I was going to work, I expected to get stabbed. Every single day I went to work, I expected to get beat down, run over, or set on fire. And I expected every single day to maybe have to do one of those things to somebody else. And every day it didn't happen, I was grateful.
Good point.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great point.
That's number one. And then number two, they will tell you that when it comes to kids and trauma, kids compensate really well for a period of time. But after they hit a certain period of time, they drop off fast. And it's really, really, really hard to try to save them because their body's been pushing and fighting for so long. And then they're going to get to a point where their body just can't do it anymore. And there's just not that much left to save anymore. It's very difficult to do. I guarantee you, if you ask a trauma nurse, ER doc, any of those folks, paramedics on the street, they'll tell you kids compensate for a while, but once they start slipping into shock, it's a lot harder to save them than it is kids. That's trivia, because that shouldn't be the point of action. Do I take action or not? Are they adults or kids? But the reality is, it's time.
Right. That time was of the essence, and they just blew it. I mean, when it's all said and done, they blew it, and it's so sad. And I like the fact that we're talking about these different situations. Like I was telling you about some of the pushback I've been getting, being critical of these guys. And John, you were like, man, you find a way to get through that doorway, and that relative risk and actual risk, man. That I'm stealing that, man. I'm using that because that brought it. That took an area that I was just like, well, they sound like they made a good point, but then you brought out the reality of it. You said this is the real threat. Yeah, this could do some damage too, but that was huge right there, man. I think that little bit of information for me was the best thing in this whole discussion so far. Go ahead, man.
It's a difference between a reason and an excuse. Okay. Reason, if they didn't go through one door because it was barricaded or whatever, okay, that's a reason. Someone's looking for excuses. Well, we didn't have a key. We didn't have a key. Look, I'm a grown man. If I'm a hostage when somebody's actively shooting people in the room that I'm in, I'll give you this. You can try to force your way in, and if you hurt me in the process, we're good. You're getting a Christmas card from me. We're good. Don't worry about my attorney. We don't have a problem.
Right.
That conversation is like, trying to find out what the shooter had for breakfast that morning. It's not even relevant.
Irrelevant.
I understand I understand trying to pick it apart, but again, the action, the potential versus the actual risk is what we need to be looking at.
No, that makes sense, man. Sean, you got something you want to add real quick? If y'all got about 10 more minutes, man, I'm gonna go through some of these comments, and but I want you to, if you have to chime in real quick. But after you're done, I want to go through some of these comments and get your thoughts on it as well.
Oh, okay, real quick. I saw some of the interviews they did with some of the parents, and it broke my heart. I don't know if you saw any of those interviews, and
I did.
Yeah, it was a father, and he begged him. He said, "Give me a gun, I'll go in." It was a mother, and I'm sure she would have done it. She said, "Listen,
right.
I got to go in and get my kid. If you guys aren't going to go in, I'm going to go in." And my thought is, how I couldn't live with that, man. I couldn't, you know what I mean? I just couldn't. I don't understand how they can stand there. And they put her in handcuffs. They put her in handcuffs. So, man, you got to calm down.
Let me play devil's advocate here again while we're having a conversation. You're on the perimeter. You're on the perimeter of an active situation. What do you think your partners are in there doing? Like, we're on the perimeter. Us three are on the perimeter of an active shooting.
You think they want to take care of business?
That's what we're assuming. That's what we.
Right.
That's what they should be doing. So if you have a citizen, a parent, man, I get it, but do we want that citizen getting involved in a situation like that where where they really, we don't know what kind of training they got. What do y'all think about that?
Like John, listen, somebody has to do something. You have kids in the classroom on the phone with 911 pleading for help.
No, I'm with you, bro.
They're calling their parents, and you stand outside that door for that amount of time. I'm sorry. Didn't a probation officer or somebody, a border patrol or somebody make entry or something like that, stepped up and took care of business? Somebody needs to do something. I was on the strip one time. I'm fighting with a guy, and the people were crowding in, right? And I'm yelling, "Hey, get back, police, get back!" I'm tussling with this guy. They're trying to set him free. 2 LAPD officers off duty, they were sheriffs down there, stepped in, identified themselves, and helped me out, man. So listen, I don't care where help comes from. but when it's time for action, somebody needs to step up and do something. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I would have done something. I would have ran past those guys and went in there and taken care of business, or at least tried to. You
Yeah, I
know?
think as time went on, you'd be wondering, like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, why?
Right.
Especially when when you know they've been in there, they went in, and you're still hearing
Right.
gunfire, because I think it's somewhere 30 minutes later, 40 minutes later, you hear a couple of shots being fired, and then they decide to move further down the hallway, and then they post up for like another 20, 30 minutes. It's just like, I mean, if I had hair, I'd be pulling it out, man. It's just like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, man? It's just like, what are y'all doing over here? And man, I don't know, John, you got anything else to add to that as far as response to what I just threw out there?
There's a couple thoughts. One is, you said, what would we do if we were on the
Perimeter?
If we were outside? I don't think that the three of us would be outside unless we were out of state when the whole thing started. That's number one.
Right.
Number two,
You're right about that.
I think we all know, it's fair to say, those people, when you hear about who went in to do something, and you're hearing the shooting and it's not over, we know those people who have no business being in there. And I'm not standing outside. Someone's gonna have to replace me. So what? So that's number two. Number three, as far as the parents are concerned, it's a shame, but we're all grown, and I imagine that your whole audience is too. How many times have you seen a mechanic or somebody or a plumber looking at something, and maybe you go up and you ask them, do you know what's going on with this? Do you know what you're doing? And it's a shame that something is so apparently being handled so incompetently, especially a life and death matter, that even citizens who don't really know a whole lot about it know that something more should be happening. They're not sure what, but they're expecting more, and you're not delivering.
Right.
And this is not a performance. It's not like dancing puppies on a beach ball or something. They're expecting, aggressive, intelligently aggressive action to take place. And when that's not happening, and all they're hearing, and if they're getting word from people inside going, it's not stopping.
Yeah, that's a reasonable expectation, and they shouldn't have to go through all that. Hey, let me go through some of these comments real quick, man. I want to, if there's something y'all want to respond to, I jump on board. Let me see here. Mandy Sanchez, what's up, Mandy? Exactly right. We do the right thing. Come with me. Seems so few think this way nowadays. Have mercy. Yeah, you're right. Too few people. What you got here, Roy? Hold on a second. I missed that. Okay, here we go. I came from the National School Safety Conferences. We had 1,800 officers there. Everyone felt sick that those officers didn't go. Yeah, we're right along with y'all. Hey, Janice, thank you for your heart. So much demonization these days. These PDs didn't help, except to take our guns, people, by their cowardice. My husband was PD, and I served in the Air Force to be ready to help my nation. I don't get running away. Yeah, you're one of the few, Janice. What else we got? Oh, JD over here. What up, JD? I'm so glad you're bringing this up. When I saw this video, it makes me sick to my stomach. They made all LE law enforcement in my home state look really, really bad. Every single one of them needs to turn in their credentials, not take a single penny of any kind of retirement, and never once ever mention that they consider themselves a cop.
Wow.
What y'all think about that?
Wow. Wow. I'm in total agreement.
Yeah.
Total agreement.
I know JD. I expect him to say something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, me and him went to the academy together. We all worked downtown. We worked downtown together. So yeah, I could. Joanne was like, awesome show. Thank you. Thanks, girl. JD said, good to see you, John. Yeah, Roy pointed out the fact that it was Border Patrol. Those were the main guys. Their
Border Patrol.
Their board tag is kind of like their, like special tactics unit.
Yes, sir. I salute to Border Patrol. Absolutely.
Right. They handle their business, man.
Yes, sir.
JD sent a link here. Police officer's husband slain, Uvalde teacher detained, disarmed after he tried to save his wife. So the link is in the comments, y'all. If anybody wants to check that out, the link is in the comments. So thankful for all three of you sheepdogs. My heart cannot comprehend the cowardice. Yeah, it's like, it goes back to, and we kind of touched on this topic, before you even decide that I'm going to be a cop, or when you start entertaining the thought that you want to get into law enforcement, you need to have that conversation with yourself. If push came to shove, am I willing to put my life on the line for someone else? I'm not saying we just run to die for just every willy-nilly, every situation, but there may come a situation where that risk is real. Am I prepared for that? We lost John there real quick. Am I prepared for that potential risk? And then also the question is, am I prepared to take a life if push comes to shove? And you need to have that conversation before you even test. That needs to be going through your head. What do you think about that, man?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, like, we know what we signed up for. And like when I was in recruiting and they would ask me, about the job, I would tell them, I said, you see that black and white rolling down the street with the pretty red and blue lights, and oh, that must be fun. But you don't know what's on the other end of that call. You have to be prepared mentally and physically, because if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Number one,
That's it.
I said, and you got to be able and be willing to take care of business at all costs, period. So you have to know that going in, you know what I mean? And we signed on the dotted line, and I took that oath seriously. And listen, and I tell people, in all my years, I've never been written up, ever. I've never been discourteous. I talk to a lonely bum the same way I would talk to, the president of the United States, man. I give everybody the same respect, and it's worked for me. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't know, Mojo. I'm all over the place right now, man, because I'm emotional, and it's a lot, man. And for those of people who are out there thinking about getting into this, man, make sure you're ready. Make sure this is what you want to do, and you're going to fulfill, the task at hand, and and you're serious about it, because it's more than just a paycheck.
Right.
For me, it was.
I heard it put like this, man. I had one of my buddies put it like this one time. He said, Mojo, it's like this. You get a 416B, other disturbance. That's what they're called, 416B. We don't know what's going on, but there's something. Go handle that. That's like the average patrol cop's job every single day. We give you a radio. You got body armor running around 10 hours a day. Your radio, your gun, your pepper spray, your handcuffs, your taser. Go handle that. We don't know what's going on, and that's your job every single day, multiple times a day. You have no idea what that risk is on the other side. You have no idea. So in order to have that mentality, you need to, those are conversations that need to be had a long time ago. And real quick, I'm going to say this, man. I think I reached out to you when I was going through field training, Sean. I know I reached out to a couple of people, but I was struggling. I ain't going to lie to anybody, because I had a mindset, I had a corrections officer mindset. And I'm not saying this like to try to say corrections and police work, one's better than the other, but they're considerably different, because you have a confined space, a limited environment as a corrections officer, whether you work in the prison or the jail. On the streets, everything is a potential threat. The dude driving down the street, the person walking up on you, you just don't know. You don't know. You're going into other people's homes. They know the layout. You ain't got a clue. So that shift was hard for me. And I reached out to a handful of people. There was you, Simonette. There were a couple other cats that I reached out to. Hunt. I reached out to these guys, man, dudes that I knew that came, and y'all were just like, hey, that's just the reality. You gotta work through it, man. They said it's hard. It's a different mentality out here. You have different threats. You have it's a different world. Your world went from this big to that big, to the whole world, to the whole city, to the whole area that you patrol. And so it took a lot, man. And so going in with that mindset, it caused me to really work on my skill set, to be situationally aware, to be physically fit, to have good sound, solid tactics. Me and Kuz every week, he and I were up at the range shooting, putting each other through hard shooting drills and stuff like that. Trying to invite other people on the squad. Hey, come on up. Me and Kuz, 2 firearms instructors. Come on up, y'all. We'll help you out. Yeah, we'll see you up there. Man, we had like 1 person show up. And we did that for months, like probably over a year. But it just shows like there's one thing to say you're tough and you want to go through the difficulty and you're willing to be there in the mix. But do you have the mindset to improve and to get better so that you can be effective while you're out there as a cop? And then that's a different level. And I'm not saying anybody's better, but if you're out there, man, you don't want to be a liability. That was my biggest concern, to be on the streets. Now, I'm not saying I was super cop and I made all the arrests. No, I did not. Some months, I had some of the lowest stats because, no, I'm not taking everybody to jail. No, I ain't writing everybody a ticket because that's just not my personality. And I had sergeants who would call me in the office. Excuse me. There were times I got called in the office, Muldrow, your stats are kind of low this month. Like, you didn't write that many tickets, and you didn't do that many arrests. And I'd be like, yeah, I know, Sarge. I can tell you that already going in. And then they would be like, well, what can we do about this? And I would say this with no ill will in my heart. And I said this to every supervisor when it ever happened. Sarge, all due respect, it ain't going to change. I would tell him that. I said, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but I just think that there's different people are out here for different purposes. Yeah, we're all out here to try to minimize the crime, keep the crime down, no question about it. But if I pull somebody over on Fremont and Eastern, and they don't have they're coming home from work, or they're going to work, they're in uniform, and their driver's license is expired, I ain't gonna throw his life, and the dude's an ex-felon or something like that. He's trying to do something with his life. I'm not gonna throw his life into a whirlwind by writing him a $200 and $300 ticket. I was just telling him, I'm not gonna do that. This guy's actually trying to better himself and contribute to society. I said, like, handle that, man. Or you got a warrant, dude, take care of that stuff, man, so you don't ruin yourself. Now, if they got caught up later on, that's on them. But I would say, right, to me, it looks like you're trying to do right. So I had a different mentality when I went out there. Like I said, I wasn't super cop. I wasn't out there trying to make all the arrests. That was JD on over downtown. JD was the one doing all the arrests. I mean, man, I'm telling you, that dude worked. That brother worked out there. But me, my passion was training, making sure that my squad and those guys were up to snuff, that we were as good as we could be. So when crap like this, while we doing this video today, crap like this goes down, we walk in there with confidence and being prepared. And I mean, I can go on that topic, but I think that there's a purpose. There's different needs, and there are different officers out there for different purposes. Me and Kuz, we're all about the training. You, Mac, same thing. That's where our passions were, and we knew. And going back to what we were saying about being on the perimeter, there are days I was the last officer to arrive on a hot call, a situation where there's a shooting, and somehow I was one of the first ones to make entry when it was all said and done. I'm the last dude, and you're talking about 2 squad days, 3 squad nights, all working together. I'm the last dude. I'm on my lunch break finishing up when the call goes out, and somehow when we got to make entry into that room with some mentally ill dude is shooting his gun out of there, I'm in that stack going in. Like I said, I ain't saying like I'm all that. It's just that some of us are built for that, and some people just are not. I'm gonna let y'all go talk. Hey, Eric. Yeah, bro.
The truth is this, and people are gonna throw a stink eye, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever else they got. You do what you got to do. The truth, unfortunately, is if we had more of those incidents, you would see more of that kind of response. And you said it yourself. Okay, yeah. You could be the last dude there, and then suddenly you end up being the entry guy going in and try. You know, gee, how did that happen? Well, that was by design. So, you know, I've said for a long time, and it's a little off topic, but there are parts of changing the face of policing that I very much agree with. Like, we got too many people who are doing too many things they shouldn't be doing. So when it comes time to stuff like this, you wind up too often with people who shouldn't be doing that job, expected to do that job, and they've been able to hide for too long. And now you see what you got. I'm gonna make somebody angry on that, but I'll stand by it. I'll die on that hill.
Hey, we talked about that many a days.
It's easy to run around and give a guy a ticket for jaywalking.
Yeah.
Sean, you got anything?
Wow. Oh, I got a whole lot, but
as long as you got, man.
I'll save it. I'll save it for the next next show. Yeah. I plan to join in a little more, but yeah, I'm gonna let because Kuz is just so eloquent. I love to hear him speak, man. So I'm gonna let him. He's making some great points, man. You know, there are definitely some changes that need to be made. That's just like all my field training officers. Pat Burks, for example, man, great guy, man. Taught me a lot, man. But you don't have those kind of training officers anymore, man. You know what I mean? You know, they used to call me a shit magnet. Excuse my French. Listen, because I love to hunt. I love to hunt. I love to train. When I was on the SAT team, that's why I love that so much.
That's French for good job.
We didn't have to do calls for service. All we did was hunt, and I love that. And I learned so much, man. And I wish some of these guys now could if we can go back in time and they could do some of the stuff that I had the privilege of doing and learn from Jim Dixon and some of the other people, man. You know what I mean? You know, that old school kind of way. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but that whole Kyler Gently thing, I don't know if it's working. I don't know.
That old school way nowadays without culture, it's a dead and dying breed, bro.
Man, I don't know what to say, man. These, you know, I mean, and just like the law with that they just passed in Arizona, I think it was Arizona, where you have to be 8 feet away from the officer. You can still record. Did you hear about that one?
No, this is news to me. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah, they passed that in I think it was Arizona. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. I think it was Arizona. And so people have been asking me, do you agree with that? Why can't you record the police? I said you can record the police, but how about you be 8 to 10 feet away from me while you're recording? There's a zoom on your camera.
Even that's kind of close. 8 to 10 feet while I'm working.
It is. It is, because you don't know if they're involved, if they're part of this, or you don't know what these people's intentions are. And, you know, and like on the Strip, we would be taking someone to custody and people are throwing bottles and rocks at us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you just don't know. I agree with it. But the public, for some reason, they just don't get it. You know, I say walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. That's just like, I can't. You know, I don't critique people, man. I can't tell you what it's like to be, I don't know, a car salesman. I've never sold cars. Right. You know what I mean? So I have to walk a mile in that man's shoes, and then I'll have a better understanding. You know what I mean?
Don't you know that everybody is graduated the police academy? Everybody has.
Right.
You don't know that?
Right. They know laws. All right, everything.
Yeah, they know laws. They know situational awareness. They know threat assessments. They know all that, man. You know. What are you talking about?
And you know what's sad is that you have your own family members. You know what I mean? I have a niece. Oh my God, man! I have to explain everything to this girl. You know what I mean? You know why we do this or why we do that, or you know. But everything is totally against the police. You know what I mean? She lives in New Jersey. I said, well, who do you call who would you call when they stole your car? When they broke in your apartment, who would you call? You didn't call security. You didn't call a friend. Who'd you call? You called us. Right?
Well, when every time you turn on the TV, when every time you turn on the TV or social media, all you get is this cop did this cop
Right.
shot this black man, this cop did this to this person. When that's what you get all the time, and now some of these people, these politicians, some of these actors, actresses, whomever, media figures, you create an environment where the police are hated, and then when something like this goes down, or a cop second guessing himself, or whatever, or when the crime rate shoots up because cops aren't as proactive as they once were, then they're trying to be all, well, we got to start respecting cops. Man, you spent the last 5-6 years jumping down every time a cop did something that would even looked remotely questionable. Not wrong, not even just wrong, but questionable. You automatically assumed it was ill will and it was evil and it was bad. And then come time, as most of the situations end up panning out where the officer was justifying his or her actions, people still don't want to hear it. So when you create that environment, you create that world where cops are hated, don't be upset. And I'm not talking about this incident right here. Don't be upset when some cops decide, you know what, I'm not going in that neighborhood, man, where every time I walk up in there, everybody looks at me like I'm the bad guy. I'm not
Right.
going over there. I'm not going there.
Right.
Don't be upset when it happens. But that's what we're seeing right now. That's why the crime rate is skyrocketing all across the country. I'm going to let y'all say the last few comments. I'm going to wrap this up. What y'all got in closing? And let's bring it back to this primary issue of this situation here. We can talk. You can discuss whatever topic that we've discussed on this show at this episode that you want. But go ahead and wrap it up, fellas, and I'll close out. I'll have the last final comments.
John, I'll let you go first, John.
Thanks, man. Hey, I guess two things. One is to keep those families and those kids in your memory, in your heart.
Amen.
And the second thing is, if you're an officer now, you need to look at yourself and just saying you're going to do something with the bravado. Do you have the skills? Do you think about this stuff? Have you worked this out in your head about what you're going to do when you're faced with it? Because you can't create every possible scenario that can occur to you when you're on duty. But if you're solid in your basic skills and you're ready to apply them and you understand when you can and when you need to apply them and how much you need to apply them, you'll be fine. Nobody. I'll use an Eric term, but it's correct. I was blessed to be exposed to some people who worked at a very high level and were kind enough to train me and kind of bring me into a wider view of how to do things. But it's going to be on you as an individual officer to step up and make that decision. Are you there for the prestige, for the paycheck, for the retirement, for the health benefits, which are all good, and you deserve those, provided you're providing the other half of the bargain to the community that you serve. If you're not, there are plenty of honorable careers that you can take. Turn in your badge, turn in your star, and go do something else. So,
well said, bro.
Absolutely. Well said. That's going to be kind of hard to follow that one. Geez, John, thank you. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go back to my first point when I spoke about the job and protecting those who can't protect themselves. For those who may look at this video, if you know someone, going back to my recruiting days here, if you know someone who's honorable, who's really willing to help their community, man, who truly has a love for the law, for justice, and you want a better and safer neighborhood, tell them to sign up. And I was trying to think of something more honorable in my mind than the profession that we chose, and I just can't. I can't. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care. I mean, do we get it right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. We're going to make mistakes. And they always ask me, my niece, she always asks me, what about the, Fidel Castro in Minneapolis and these other situations? I said, okay, well, those guys are paying for those mistakes. We're held to a higher standard, and they're getting their day in court, and that's all I can say about that. You know what I mean? We don't always get it right. But I don't think there's any malice in any of our hearts, man, when we're out there and we were doing this job. Man, we were truly there to help people, you know. And I say to people, you know, stop Monday morning quarterbacking this. You know, if you want to change some things, go through the academy, put on this uniform, and go out there and hump some calls. You know, let's work together as a community to try to make this world a better place, man. You know what I mean? I mean, I go on and on for hours, man. But for those people that see this, you know, I mean, stop critiquing. You know what I mean? Don't be part of the problem. Try to be part of the solution. That's what we need. We need prayer. You know, we need understanding. You know, and
we need
sometimes we need some help. Yeah, we need. Yeah, you know, if you see something, say something. You know. So, I mean, that's all I pretty much have to say, Mojo. I'm still emotional about all of this, man. So, but
no, it's understandable, man.
Yeah. You know, I'm passionate about this, man. You know, I love my career. I hate I had to give it up, man, because of my health. You know, that was the only reason because of my cancer. And I'm, you know, but you know, I would if I could, I'd put that uniform back on and I'd go right back out there today, without hesitation. You know, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, from every cell in my body, man. I loved it. I love working with you guys, man. You know, it was just my life, man. You know what I mean? And now my son, he's a corrections officer now. I'm trying to get him to go PO. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It may take him a while,
years.
man, because it took you. Yeah. How long were you on before you went out to the streets?
Well, I was a CO for like 19 years altogether. 7 in at CCDC, and I met Pat Burks, one of them, talking me into coming to the streets, man. You know, and I see him all the time. I do some work with him now and stuff, man. He called me up, man. We're still good friends, and I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad he did. So hopefully my son won't you know. And again, there's nothing wrong with being a CO. Nothing wrong with it. You know, but with his skill set, man, I think he would make a great sergeant, great lieutenant. You know me out there, so let's hope so.
Yeah, man, and because I did 3.5 years for the Indiana Department of Corrections before I came out here as a CO, and then I worked CCDC for 10 years before I finally decided to go out to the jail. And man, honestly, when I was doing that gang intel job, if I could have stayed out there, if I could have stayed in that section, I don't know if I ever would have left. But once I was exposed to more of what patrol had to offer, I was like, man, after 3 years, I'm about to go back to them decks. And they boring as hell. I'm just going to keep it real. And I just said, man, I still got some years to do on this job. I said, and then after I always tell that story of going through street survival when Steve Zizek said, hey, Muldrow, Eric, you got to check out this street survival class by Caliber Press. And man, taking that 2-day class changed my life. Like put me on a whole different trajectory career-wise. And I felt like there was really no more challenges left for me as a corrections officer. And then I went out to the streets and man, I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's aspects of it that were really tedious and irritating like any job. But man, when you're in the mix and you're on I keep going back to you're on those hot calls or you're helping somebody whose life is on the line potentially, man, there's nothing like it, man. I've been on some calls where you literally when you save someone's life, man, there's nothing like it, man.
Nothing.
I can go on, nothing like it. Like you go home, it's like, man, like I found my calling, like why I was meant to be here. I look back on all the things I did as a kid, getting into the martial arts, always wanting to help people. Like I was kind of like the one people my friends went to when I was in high school when they wanted to kind of bare their soul. I was kind of like that guy. I was a medic in the Army. At first I wanted to be military police, but then I would have had to wait like another year because there wasn't a class available. And I was like, nah, I'm ready to go. So then I became a combat medic, and just everything I've done in my life put me on the path to where I got into law enforcement. And even now, man, I've been retired since 2014. I'm still involved in it, so to speak. You know what I mean? By the videos I'm making, the conversations, and talking to different groups and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, I'm really thankful for the path the Lord brought me down and bringing me to this field where I got to meet some good brothers like y'all. I mean, honestly, man. I mean, but both y'all from the Midwest. Kuz is from Detroit. You know, Sean, you from Chi-Town and whatnot. But it's
Right.
just like, man, meeting people from all different experiences, walks of life, and being able to really impact someone to the point to where I've had people to this day who recognize me from patrol, and I've had people. I had some dude hunt me down on Facebook and told me about a conversation that he and I had, where I told him that, dude, like, how long you gonna be strung out on this meth, man? And he said, man, I'm hooked. I said, you know what, honestly, man, I said, I know there's some physical addictions that are involved in that. I'm not naive to that. I said, but you can quit today. You could quit today if you really want to. You could. I said, you just have to make that decision. Dude called, and this is back in like '07 where we had this conversation. Dude called up to me a year and a half ago, and he said, man, that conversation you and I had, he said, and I took him to jail. Dude went to prison because of me. He found me on Facebook, shot me a message, said, man, that conversation I had with him changed his life. He said, I've been out now. I've been out clean for the last 7 years. He said, I drive trucks in Oklahoma. He said, man, I make a good living. I got a family now. He said, man, I just wanted to say thank you for the conversation that we had. I didn't even remember that conversation until he brought it up. But little things like that, the impact that you can have. I've had similar events happen like that in the jail. People said, man, the conversations that we had in the jail, man, you just woke me up, man. And just being able to have that impact, man, is so powerful. But, man, to wrap it all up, and I don't think I can say it any better, man, but you guys both put it so eloquently that the reality of law enforcement work is that that there's always that potential risk where you could have to lay down your life. And when you're looking at the most innocent, as you said, Sean, the most helpless of us, there's no more honorable way to go out than by trying to save them. But I'm wrapping it up here, y'all. I appreciate y'all joining us today for this conversation. We got to do this more often, fellas. I got to get y'all on more often, man, for real, because I really enjoyed this talk.
Me too.
I really love your passion on this topic, man, and or guys, and everyone else. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all.
It's been a privilege, man. Thank you.
Oh, man. Hey, stick around, guys, because I'm going to wrap it up.
Sure.
I want to chop it up with you guys for like another minute or two, and then I'm going to let y'all go. But I'm going to wrap up this conversation here. Y'all know the routine, as always. In the meantime, stay safe. God bless. And make sure you join the conversation. We out.